Team Vestas hit a reef in the middle of the Indian Ocean, the dramatic pictures that were beamed around the world suggested that this was the end of their campaign. But 8 weeks later, I've come here to Persico in Bergamo in Italy to find out how on earth you repair a boat that was that badly damaged to within a few kilos of its original weight. If rebuilding the boat wasn't a big enough task, one of the problems was that the yard that the boat was originally built in was being used for something else. So the project started with having to build a new yard in 2 weeks. And this is it. So let's have a look at the boat inside. So here she is, Vestas Wind in the yard, upside down. Looks pretty much like any other boat would look upside down, until you take a look at the back. It's only once you get past midships that you start to realise the scale of the problem. I mean, look at it, no hull here at all. This was the side of the boat that was lying on the reef and sustained the most damage, and the hull has been cut away completely here. But what a task, look at it. This has all got to be replaced. But it gets even worse as you get further down the back of the boat. This is where the boat's supposed to finish, back here. The stern's all missing. So here we are inside the boat, the upturned boat. And we're in the aft section of it, and you can see this is the area, this would have been the nav station back here, and then the media station behind that. And this is the hull. Here we can see the Nomex foam core. But what a job to rebuild this. The idea is that actually it's this structure and the deck that's the really difficult and time-consuming thing to rebuild. So the idea is to cut the hull away from the structure and to drop a new hull over the top. Of course, before the project could start, the boat had to be stripped. A lot of it came off on location out on the reef. But when it came back to the yard, everything had to come off, and I mean everything. There is nothing left on this boat apart from its structure and a few hydraulic pipes. In order to remove the hull from the structure of the boat, the team are cutting away the hull in panels, and you can see that over here, where sections of the hull have been cut out around the bulkheads in the boat. At this stage, the work's only a few days into the process, and the team doesn't yet know exactly how much of the hull needs to be replaced. It could be the whole lot, it could be part of it. In the forward section of the boat, things don't look quite so bad. You look at the lamination and the bulkheads, they all look in pretty good shape, and that's going to be the challenge for the team over the next few weeks, establishing how much of it they can keep and how much of it they have to replace. Seeing it in the flesh really brings home the scale of this project. It's enormous. But it's important to remember that this is actually a race against time for the team, because they've stated that they want to be back in the race and starting from Lisbon. Well, in order to stand any chance of being ready in time, the team have had to start work on a brand new hull to slip over the top whilst they're pulling this one apart. And that all happens in the yard next door. So here it is, the hull in construction. Now we're looking more normal, except that just 2 weeks ago, this shed was derelict. In some ways, you could argue that this is actually the simplest part of the whole process. After all, this yard built 7 of these boats before, so there's plenty of experience that's gone into them. So at the moment, this is the early stages of the outer layer of the hull going in, with the foam that will be vacuum bagged inside. Once the carbon outer skin and the foam core have been put in place, then the oven will be lowered down on top of the boat to cook the whole structure. So while the old boat is being cut apart and the new hull is being built, Another team is going through every bit of deck gear on board the boat, checking it, cleaning it, preparing it, ready to be reinstalled on the finished boat. When this boat was originally built, it took 281 days. Now they had just 113. No one was in any doubt as to how big a task this would be. So can they be back on the start line come June? When we made this film, the odds were just 50-50. But if they do, the achievement will be outstanding and will say as much for the resilience of the new Volvo 65s as it will the determination of this resolute team. This, as their slogan says, is a race that we must win.